Welcome to the Mastering Business Skills podcast, where we interview successful small business owners who share their own journey, mastering the skills they needed to grow and be successful in their business. Learn the struggles, the wins, and all the things they learned along the way, so you can cut down on your own learning curve.
Welcome to Mastering Business Skills. Today we're talking to Frank Scearbo, a credit card processing expert. Frank has a background in banking, accounting, business advisory services, and money management. Welcome to the show, Frank. This is really an important topic for so many entrepreneurs because they have to process credit cards regularly. We're excited to learn from you today.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. So tell us a little bit about what you do and what inspired you to start your business.
Sure. Well, what we do, and there is a we, it's not just me. We help business owners navigate all the pitfalls that come from accepting credit cards. It does not have to be a necessary evil, as many business owners say. I don't want to take credit cards, but I have to. Well, there's reasons why they said that, and there's a lot of things that can be done to fix that. And we ensure that each client receives the lowest possible cost on each card when they accept a credit card or a debit card. So that encompasses a whole bunch of different things, but that is basically the crux of what we do. What inspired me is coming from the banking industry. There were so many moving pieces to the merchant services world, and depending upon the bank and depending upon the bank's criteria, well, ultimately that became the product of choice of the business owner. And what that really meant is the business owner really didn't have a choice. They were told how they were going to be doing it, and that was basically it. And there were so many options, but unfortunately the business owner never got to see all of them. And my thought was, if I could explain how the different pieces work, and the business owners could actually control those moving pieces, not just the rate, it would work. And 20 plus years later, we're still here, so I guess it worked. And it's working.
Yes. So we talk about mastering business skills, and can you tell us what one skill is that you've mastered that you can share with the audience, and maybe they can learn from it or implement it right away?
Sure. You know, I have always believed that no matter what you do, no matter how technologically advanced we may be, in every industry there's going to be some level of customer service. And one of the things I learned a long time ago from my dad is that if you are not willing to service the client when the client has those needs, then you don't deserve to work with that client. And I've kind of enhanced that belief by saying that if you can do something for someone, then you should do that just because you can, not because of what's in it for you. And I honestly believe that, to me, that's why clients have stayed with us in some cases for 20 years, when in the merchant services industry, the average time a business owner stays with the client, it's a little more than 3 years.
Wow.
Or the business owner stays with the processing company a little more than 3 years. So for me, my skill is listening, providing that service. I'm blown away. Every day I spend a half hour calling on clients just to say hello. And so many times people have said, nobody does this anymore. Like, wow, a simple phone call. Yeah, a simple phone call goes a long way, guys and girls.
Yeah, it does. It does. So do you deal mostly with, is it more brick and mortar type businesses, or is it more the online, or is it both?
It's both. You know, we have our fair share of all of that, brick and mortar, online. And the brick and mortar people they're bombarded with people walking in all day long selling their stuff. The online people, there may not be a way to stop in and say hello. But even if someone's working from their home because they sell such and such on a website, no, I'm not going to drive to their home and knock on their front door. But there's a lot of ways to show that customer service and show that, you really appreciate working with them, such as sending a birthday card. Everybody gets a birthday card.
Awesome.
On July 1st, I start this process where I start to hand write out Thanksgiving cards. Every single client gets a Thanksgiving card.
Wow.
So again, that process is, I appreciate you. Thank you for being with us. Here's how I think I can show that to you. So I hopefully you see that.
Right. That's awesome. You find so few places that are doing that right now, providing that actual customer service. So I think so if you could give one piece of advice to someone starting a business and that they're planning to process credit cards, what would that one piece of advice be?
Sure. There's always going to be things that we don't know. Regardless of how much experience you have in your industry, there's always going to be someone or some company claiming to have a better mousetrap that can do it better. Okay, fine. I believe that if you align yourself with quality professionals who have your back, not just about how much money they're going to charge you or what they want in return, but if they truly have your back, because if you try to do everything on your own, I think your chances of success will be greatly diminished.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
So we always try to be that person where let's have a 3 to 5 minute conversation. This does not have to be complicated. This does not have to be that involved where you have to clear your day.
Right.
Let's have a 3 to 5 minute conversation, find out what's important to you. Is there anything that we hear or see that we think we can enhance? Maybe yeah, maybe no. And matter of fact, right before we picked up this session, we had one of those conversations where I said to the franchise owner, you may not like your provider right now, but from a cost perspective, they're doing it the right way. Now, they're not providing service. That's an entirely different piece of the pie. There's cost in the service. So their cost is correct. You don't like the fact that they're not replying back to you. That's a different problem that we can fix.
Mhm. And Frank, what does success mean to you, and how has your definition of it maybe changed from when you were in banking to now?
Sure. The merchant services business that I have never existed actually until the thought came into my head. So to some degree, I did create something that was never there. And I think anyone who can do that is successful. I also believe that there's a certain belief that success is based on how much money someone makes. And that's always going to be a different number based on each person's value and so on and so forth. But when I started, yeah, that was important to me. Growing the clients, becoming financially successful in my head, what that meant. But what has changed for me over the time is that I have 3 children. And I see them following my beliefs and attitudes about helping people, about putting other people first, and truly servicing the people they work with. Now, 2 of those children are still in college. One of them owns a wealth management company. And I see them take pride in what I created and how they try to duplicate that. And together, we have probably put together something that when you put forth something that you can be proud of, and in order to be proud of something that's out there in the public, whoever your public is, they also have to be proud of that because they become a part of that.
Yeah.
So success for me has changed from, yeah, it's not about how many clients I have. Every business who's still in business wants new business. Okay, fine. That's all kind of a given. That's kind of why we do what we do. But let's put all that aside and let's look at other stuff. So for me, it's just seeing how my children have taken to what I've done and how they implement that in their life.
That's really good. Yeah,
Yeah.
I like that.
Is
So I started that conversation yesterday on LinkedIn too, and there was so many variations, and a lot of people do say, that society tells you it's the, like that's what I fell into myself, like the $1 million businesses and the, work, 20 hours of the day, and I think my all-time favorite was you can sleep when you die.
Well, that's true. That just, yes, you can't sleep when you die. But yeah,
But that rate is going to kill you quicker. So
and I saw you put that out there, and I said that's interesting because that's kind of where my life has gone. When I call people and say hello, it's very common of what the person then says back to me in some shape or form, and a lot of times it's in the form of, Frank, we've been together for 10 years, 12 years, 8 years, whatever that is, and I see my cost, so I know my cost is still less today than it was 10, 12 years ago. That itself is amazing, but it always seems as though that I'm your only client. Now, if someone can say that and truly mean it, I've hit a home run.
Yeah, that's amazing. That says a lot about you and your business and the level of care that you give your clients. For them to come back and say that's amazing.
Yeah, that's what makes it all fun.
Yeah. So do you have a next skill that you want to master, and why that skill? I mean, it could be a business skill, tech skill, personal
Sure.
skill.
So I've always been fascinated with the power of thought. 30 years ago, I was introduced to Napoleon Hill. I'm not sure if anyone knows Napoleon Hill, but not the real person because he had passed on. But
Right.
Napoleon's Hill works. And over the years, I have increased my knowledge of how that whole process works. And I've started working probably 5 or 6 years ago. I've started working with individuals in small groups on how to improve your mind and the power that that brings. This doesn't mean that you're any smarter than you were before. I was never smart enough to figure out how to graduate college, so I'll leave that at that, okay? But how to improve your mind, and it's extremely rewarding helping people remove the control that negative thoughts have and replacing that with the beliefs of positive actions.
Yeah.
So when we start talking about that, I could go on forever.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. The power of positive thinking is truly amazing. And once you kind of figure that out, at least for me, it was like my whole world changed and my mind opened. And I mean, for both my business and my personal life, it truly makes a huge difference. So
Yeah, about a year ago, I was asked, a gentleman I know who runs a men's support group, and there's not many of men's support groups out there, at least not that I know of. But and what we were discussing is the study showed that 82% of men, when they first wake up in the morning, their first thought is of some sort of financial concern or worry. Okay, now you can find a study that will say anything.
right.
My concern wasn't that study, but why? What I was asked to discuss is, why does that happen? Why would that be, and how does that control you? So, and we talked about what happens right before you go to bed, what you think about. You might have been watching a TV show, but that's not what you're thinking about. You're thinking about the client that you lost, the bill that hasn't been paid yet, so on and so forth. And when you're sleeping, you may not think you're thinking about it, but your subconscious brain is there.
Yep. And
when you wake up, it's right there in your head, and that's why it's there. So the same way we go to the gym to condition our body physically, there's exercises that we can, talk about and do where, those thoughts are still going to be there, but how you can control them.
Yeah. How you control and how you process them. I know that was a big thing for me. Just kind of processing through emotions and mindset and things like that. Took a while, but yeah, no, I totally agree. I totally agree.
One of the things I tell my children is there's always going to be negative stuff going on in your life. I don't think there's a way to totally prevent that.
No.
But there's one voice in your head that will say, I can't, it's hard, it's not worth it, so on and so forth. And then there's a smaller voice that will probably say, well, just try one more time, just try one more thing. And when you start to listen to that smaller voice, eventually that smaller voice becomes so loud,
Yeah,
the negative voice is gone.
yeah, exactly. Exactly. That's very true.
So Frank, tell us what's next for your business.
Well, what's next? I have always enjoyed the presenting over the last few years of what I call online master classes. And I work with some associations and advisors, and we put these on throughout the year. So what this is a way for a group of business owners. Sometimes it's all one type of industry, sometimes it's a variety of industries, but for a group of business owners to come together, and these are very short and sweet, 15, 20 minutes. And we are simply highlighting, here's what you really don't understand as to what goes on with how MasterCard, Visa, Discover, and Amex assess fees. There's so much more to this than the rate. So when you focus on just that one piece, well, that's fine, but you're really only controlling about 20% of your total cost. When you focus on all this other stuff that you probably have never heard of, it starts to make sense why you should be doing things a certain way, or why you should stop doing things a certain way. So doing more of that, it's, for me, it's very rewarding, because at the end, 50 to 60% of those people who were there will come back to me with questions. That doesn't mean I'm working with 50, 60% of them. I can't do that. What we do is very customized, and I only work with 2 or 3 new people a month. So I will eventually get to you. You know, maybe maybe we will work together, maybe we will not. But at least you have a little bit more knowledge as to, you know, every time I come home and it rains, the ceiling in my bedroom is brown, and I keep painting it. You know, what's going on? Well, there's a lot more to it, obviously, than that. And once you know that there's a way to fix it so that it completely is removed. And that's what those are about. So
Wow.
those will become very rewarding, and it's fun.
Are you doing those like every month, or is it just certain months that you're doing them?
No, we don't have a schedule yet.
Okay.
So there will always be the next one we have coming up is, I think, is September 23rd. I forget the exact day. I may do 3 or 4 in a 5 or 6 week period, and may not have another one for 5 or 6 months.
Okay.
But in conjunction with the different associations, the different chambers, the CPAs and bookkeepers, you know, to try to do more of those. It works. It's fun.
Okay. Are they live in person, or are they online?
Online.
Okay.
Online.
Good.
Yeah, typically there's 20 or 30 people that are there in attendance.
Okay. Well, you'll have to let us know when your next one is, so that we can
And we
let
do that.
know. Yeah, absolutely.
And we'll do that.
Yeah. Well, Frank, thank you so much for taking the time with us today and explaining all of the things with credit card processing that a lot of us probably don't realize. You know, we just go with whatever processor there is out there, or whichever one says you should pick me, and you know, we don't think there's any difference because it's just credit card processing, right? So so thank you for sharing all of that insights, and we will put your LinkedIn and your websites in the show notes for everyone, so they can connect with you, and hopefully some people will reach out and especially join you on those workshops too, because they sound great.
They do.
And for everybody listening, we hope that you decide to tune in again next week, and we thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you, Aaron. Thank you, Sharon.
Frank.
Thank you.